Alright, in this video I wanted to cover why using a two-tiered LLC structure might be beneficial to you and your business or to you and your investment structure. Okay, so what is a two-tiered LLC structure? If we look at a slide right here, I have an example. So a two-tiered LLC structure is where you have one operating company here on the bottom. So we have Florida Construction Company LLC. And then we have a second LLC on top of it that owns 100% of this company. And then that entity in turn is owned by John Taxpayer, right? So this is the individual that owns the business. And in our example here, he's a Florida resident. So in this structure, you might be asking, well, what is the point of this? Why not just have John own his Florida construction company directly, right? Why the need for this second entity in the middle there? And so that's what we're going to talk about in this video. So if I go back to this slide here, we'll go through the elements and then go back to the slide and go back to the structure slide and cover some more details and examples. So Florida is the state I'm going to be picking on in this video. So Florida LLCs have two distinct disadvantages compared to, let's say, Delaware or Wyoming. The first one is there's no anonymity with respect to ownership. So Florida has this website, sunbiz.org, and if you go to the Sunbiz website, the site publishes the names and addresses of each LLC owner and manager that's each LLC that's set up within the state. Okay, so when you open a Florida LLC, you've got to basically give them this information in order to get them to process the documents for you. All right, that's in contrast to some states like Delaware, right? So in Delaware, when you set up an LLC, you don't have to give them any ownership information. You just file the articles of organization, and then that's it. Delaware doesn't have a public database where you can go search Delaware entities and see who the owners are. So that's the first issue with a Florida LLC. Now, drawback number two, with respect to single-member LLC. So assets in a single-member LLC in Florida are not safe from personal creditors of the LLC owner. Okay, so what do I mean by that? Well, single-member LLCs are vulnerable because Florida, like many other states, don't give them the same asset protection standards as a multi-member LLC. So in Florida, if a personal creditor of the owner of a single-member LLC obtains a judgment and needs assets or cash or other property to satisfy that judgment, the creditor of the owner can actually go into the LLC to take the assets and pay off those personal debts of the owner, right? So the creditor can go into the business, take the assets, and use them to pay personal debts of the LLC owner. That does not happen in a multi-member LLC. In a multi-member LLC, the only recourse the creditor has is what's called a charging order protection. So in a charging order protection for a multi-member LLC, in effect, the creditor can place a lien on cash coming out of the company that's going to be paid to that owner, but the creditor can't go into the entity and take the assets. They can just place a lien on anything that might come out of it. That does not apply with single-member LLCs in Florida. The creditor can actually go into the company and take the assets. So the creditor under Florida statute is not limited to a charging order protection, okay? So again, they can go into the company. Not good, right? Now some states, right, Delaware, Wyoming, they have statutes which specifically do not allow this to happen for single-member LLCs. So what they have done is they said, well, if you have a single-member LLC in Delaware, you're going to get the same asset protection that's afforded to a multi-member LLC. So the only remedy for a personal creditor is, again, that charging order protection. So these two main reasons are why that two-tiered structure works or is quite often necessary for somebody that might have, let's say, a Florida LLC. So the two-tiered structure helps solve the anonymity issue, right? And it also, okay, so it solves the anonymity issue as the registered owner of that Florida entity is now going to be the Delaware LLC. So let me go back to this slide here. So Florida Construction Company LLC, when it files its articles of organization in the state to set it up, it's going to list the Delaware entity as the owner. John's information is not going to be on there. So Florida Construction LLC, when you go to Sunbiz, you search this, the name that comes up as the owner and manager is this entity, Delaware Holding ABC LLC. Now, if they wanted to, so let's say somebody wanted to do some more digging, if they go to Delaware's website and try to find this entity, they'll find the entity, but they won't see who the owner is. So the anonymity issue is the first thing that's accomplished by having this two-tiered structure. You put this entity in between, and then it helps keep your privacy on the Florida database website. The second piece is the charging order protection issue, okay? So in this example, let's say that John is sued personally, right? Because let's say he hit somebody with his car, unfortunately, and he injured that person, and the creditor's coming after his assets. Now, because John has this Delaware entity in there, the creditor can't go into the Delaware entity to take any assets. One of the assets is holding this company, right? It's a holding company for this Florida entity. So the creditor can't come in here to take any assets, right? The best it can do is place a charging order protection or a lien on any cash that might come out to John. That would not be the only remedy if this Delaware entity didn't exist. So let's say John owned 100% of this Florida company directly. The Delaware entity was not in here. The same fact pattern. If John is sued personally, they need his assets. Because he personally owns 100% of this Florida LLC without this protection in the middle, it is possible for that creditor to go into the Florida Construction Company LLC, take the assets, sell them off to satisfy the judgment. Obviously, that's not what you want. You want that additional asset protection. And so in order to accomplish that, John can put an entity in between here that has those same protections for single-member LLCs. So Delaware, Wyoming, Nevada, you can't just put any entity in the middle here. It's got to be one for a single-member LLC that has those same asset protections afforded under state statute that are offered to multi-member LLCs. So that covers it for this little brief tutorial on the two-tiered structure. Obviously, there's other benefits to this as well, but from a Florida attorney's perspective and for all of my Florida residents, a lot of times we set up this structure mainly to accomplish those two goals, right? Increased anonymity and increased asset protection for the owner. So thank you for watching. I hope that was helpful. If you have any questions, please leave me a comment below. Happy to answer whatever I can, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you.